What's up to all my spiritual and holistic family? It's your girl, Gotta Z, here with another episode on holistic and spiritual as fuck. So I hope everybody is taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because that's what it's all about. And I say that at the beginning of every episode because it's true. We have to stay, in order to live a holistic life and have a holistic approach in the way that we think, the way that we live, the way that we move. All three of those things need to be in alignment. All three of those things need to be in balance. And without one of those in balance, then we are imbalanced. Okay. So hopefully you are taking care of yourselves throughout all the shit that we see out here on social media, on the news, and in the world that we live in. Okay. Now, before I get started, I always like to get a little business out of the way. First and foremost, if you are new to this podcast, welcome. I appreciate you, and be sure to check out the other episodes. And if you are returning, I appreciate each and every one of you and your support. It means the world to me. And know that I appreciate from the bottom of my heart and soul when I'm able to actually help people, and I receive your comments and your responses on the information that I provide, because before I do each podcast episode, I always say a prayer. I say a prayer to God, to my ancestors, so that the information and the words are words of wisdom coming from spirit, so that my ego is not leading and running the show. Okay. So let's get this business out of the way and let's jump into today's topic. Okay. Because this one won't be a long one. This is another one of those podcasts, anytime, anywhere series. I really like those. And it seems that other people like those little shorter versions of the podcast as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So be sure to follow me if you are someone who utilizes social media and you like a little visual to go with your audio. I am all over. I am on Facebook, I am on TikTok, and I am on YouTube as Holistic and Spiritual AF, as well as on Instagram as Holistic and Spiritual AF podcast. Okay, so be sure to check me out on those different platforms. You can also access that from the top of the podcast itself, where you can click directly over to those pages and begin to follow me, because I give different types of information and content over there as well. All right, so now that we have gotten all of that good stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. Okay. So today we're talking about representation, okay? And not only representation, but representation actually being a form of healing generational trauma, okay? So I got inspired to do this by seeing a couple of different podcasts or whatnot on the Disney character Ariel from The Little Mermaid being black. So Disney decided to go ahead and give us a black Little Mermaid, but what was most exciting about it is the video that I saw that showed all these different little girls, these little black girls, and their responses to seeing Ariel as black, and how surprised they were, and how proud they were, and how excited they were to see a Disney character that looked like them. And then I talked about this in a TikTok video about how, when I saw that, it almost made me cry, because you could tell that these were legitimate and genuine responses from these girls, and that it made me tear up, because I remember not having any representation that looked much like me at all when I was a little girl. And that absolutely does something to a person's psyche, as well as their internal response about how they feel about themselves and the way that they feel about how they look. And a lot of times we just kind of gloss over that, and you just kind of get used to living in a society that doesn't really carry someone that looks like you as the standards of beauty. Okay, so over time, you just kind of begin to push that stuff in, stuff that stuff in, and store it in, and you just keep on moving and going on about your business, and not really realizing what an effect that has on you later on in life. Okay, the way that you dress, the way that you act, the way that you try to be accepted in this society that says that without saying so many words, that you're not considered as beautiful. But this is extremely damaging when you're a child, okay? But when you're a child and you're perceiving information everywhere, and you're getting information that you're going to use later on in your life, this can begin to affect you in a negative way, definitely. Okay, so I went on to go ahead and talk about how representation is absolutely important, and though it's amazing that they decided to do this, which is also a corporation money thing, because let's face it, Black people are responsible for about 1.2 trillion of the consumer dollars. Okay, so our black dollars are extremely important, and don't get it twisted, lots of corporations would love to be able to get access to that, and they don't want to lose our consumerist dollar in any sort of a way. So my other point to that is representation should not be handed. Our representation should not be given to someone else to teach our children, to teach ourselves, okay? Representation should also be something that we ourselves are creating for ourselves, okay? So for instance, inside of my home, I have a lot of black art, okay? So if you have black art in your home, your children see this all the time, regardless of where they go outside in the world where they may not see that, inside of their home is positive representation of powerful, strong, black people inside of their home. So having black art in your home is a powerful way of having representation around you that will begin to change your psyche. This is going to begin to start to heal some trauma that's stored inside of your DNA, some trauma that you may not even know that exists, okay? That'll begin to help you to start seeing yourself, or definitely your children to start seeing from a young age that, no, we're beautiful. We're beautiful in our own right, just the way that God made us. So having art in your home, black art, is a powerful form of having representation and positive black representation in your home, but also watching black movies. Not just the black movies that are out on, inside of the movie theaters, but, finding black movies with black cast, black producers, black directors telling our story, telling it in a positive way, not really placing the narration of our story in other people's hands where we always get to see maybe the downside of things, or we always get to see our enslaved ancestors as our history and things like that, but really starting to get to know and understand the impact that we as people of the African diaspora have made on civilization, and understanding how powerful we are as a people and how we carry that in our DNA. So, watching black movies, things that cast black casts in different lights, showing us doing amazing things, is also powerful representation. If you're a reader, reading books by black authors, black authors are amazing, okay, because they're going to be able to tell the story from our perspective, a way that we understand. So you're no longer feeling left out in this society that says, hey, I'm going to give you a character, in 2022, so that it makes it seem like we've come so long and kumbaya, we're all getting together, because that's definitely a step in the right direction, but it's definitely not a step towards reparations or even an apology, or even, beginning to correct the trauma that has been done to us as a people. So the whole point of this podcast is understanding that generational trauma and healing generational trauma that's inside of our families, inside of our DNA, doesn't necessarily have to be something that's so complicated all the time, where it has to consist of a major ritual, or you have to go through this long process. It's something that can be as simple as having representation, positive representation of black people, of black experiences, of black authors, of black art, and things like that in our own world, okay? In our own homes, and us beginning to teach that to our children, to our grandchildren, from a young age, so that we could kind of break the cycle of what the so-called standard of beauty is across the world, that lighter is better, the closer to European features is what's considered as pretty, and the further you get away from that, then you're, discounted, treated as less than, or not considered as pretty. But like I said, the most important part of healing generational trauma is you can't expect an oppressive society to actually do that for you, okay? We have to be self-sufficient in our own healing, and we have to be the ones to kind of take control of what's being seen inside of our household, what's being told, okay? Mind, body, spirit, it all is connected, interconnected. So it's also what we're feeding our minds, what we're watching, what we're seeing, what we're saying to one another. These are all things that can be done right now, today, consciously making that decision to start to heal some generational trauma, okay? So understand that representation is an extremely powerful form of healing generational trauma, and it's something that really is our responsibility and not anybody else's. Okay, so this was a super short podcast, guys. I just wanted to drop in and leave that message with you guys. Hopefully you got some value out of that. If you did, be sure to leave your thoughts into the comments, the Q&A. I always appreciate that. And then stick around, because we'll be having another podcast coming up very shortly. Peace.